A Character Morality Guide. Chapter 1. Character and Morality. Code of Conduct and Common Sense Rules in School. The following is a code of conduct I summarized from the code of a local school in my area. There are etiquette books at number 395 at the library. Feel free to use it or parts of it as a code of conduct in your school. Most good behavior is intuitive. You act in such a way as to make other people feel good. You don't hurt them or bully them. The mission of life is to develop yourself to be the best person you can possibly be, both for yourself and the world. As an individual, strive to be curious and inspired about life. Open to learning new things. Help people now and then. Do work around the house. Help your parents. Develop an ideology. What do you believe in? Where do you stand on social issues? Be proud of who you are by creating yourself as the person you want to be. Make friends in your neighborhood, school, etc. Know where you can go to get help if you need it. The code of life in any community is mutual cooperation, trust, respect, safety, and equal treatment of everybody. You must report abuse, bullying, and crimes when you see them being committed. You must be open to learning. You must be courteous and tolerant of people different from you. You must be responsible for your own actions and realize there are consequences for whatever you do, both good and bad. Behave, dress and speak in a respectful manner that is not offensive to others. Do not harass others verbally, physically, sexually, emotionally, or racially. Do not infringe on other people's lives. Don't try to be a smart-ass and interfere with their right to an education even if you are not particularly interested or motivated. Pursue personal excellence in academic, social, physical, and emotional development. Be aware of health and safety at all times. If you feel physically or emotionally threatened by bullies, relatives, friends, or strangers, report it immediately. You won't be a sissy. You'll be doing the right thing. Take your education seriously. If you feel your teacher is not doing a good job, report it to the principal. Parents should help their children with schoolwork and be actively involved with the child's life at school. Simply ask him or her how is it going. When you come to school, be ready to learn. Do your homework. Complete your assignments. Try to make learning an intrinsic experience, for the love of knowledge, not just something you have to do. Be on time. Don't miss school unless you have a good reason. Follow the rules. Don't cheat. Don't be a loudmouth, bully, or a show-off. Don't swear. Be courteous to others. Be tolerant of other people's ethnic backgrounds, religions, beliefs, and customs. Cooperate with others. Respect others. Trust your schoolmates unless they give you a reason not to. Participation in school activities is good for fun and character development. Don't make inappropriate physical contact with others, such as sexual touching, rough play, pushing or running in the halls, and banging into people. Don't use the school computers to surf the internet for inappropriate materials, generally sexual and violence-related websites. Be clean. Don't go to school without washing yourself. Don't go into rooms other than your homeroom unless you get permission to do so. Do not smoke in school or around it. Walkmans or Discmans are not allowed to be used at school. Skateboards, roller blades, or any such devices are not permitted to be used in school. Cell phones, laser pointers and pagers are not to be used in school. Snowballs, spitballs, paper balls, etc. are not permitted to be thrown in school. Don't eat food in class or in front of others unless they're eating or you plan to share it. There will be no loitering, hanging around doorways. Develop a sense of fair play among your fellow students. Don't be a busybody, gossip, or a brown-noser. Mind your own business. No weapons, alcohol, or drugs are allowed on school property. Maintain a reasonable standard of hygiene for yourself. Go easy on perfume and colognes. Wear appropriate clothing. This includes attention to the following types. Too short in the leg area. It should at least be as long as the longest extended finger when the arms are at the sides. halter tops, spaghetti straps, muscle shirts, short-cut tops, anything with an exposed navel, sheer/see-through blouses, torn, smells or is scented too strongly, with inappropriate slogans or pictures on them. Hats are not allowed to be worn in school. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights. udhr.org. unhchr.ch/udhr. un.org/overview/rights.html. On December 10, 1948, the General Assembly of the United Nations adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights as a guide to be used by member countries. It was supposedly started by Eleanor Roosevelt. Even though it is routinely violated virtually everywhere by even our supposed free champion of liberty nations, it is nevertheless a good guide for how people should treat each other and live with each other. Preamble. Whereas recognition of the inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. Whereas disregard and contempt for human rights have resulted in barbarous acts which have outraged the conscience of mankind, and the advent of a world in which human beings shall enjoy freedom of speech and belief and freedom from fear and want has been proclaimed as the highest aspiration of the common people. Whereas it is essential, if man is not to be compelled to have recourse, as a last resort, to rebellion against tyranny and oppression, that human rights should be protected by the rule of law. Whereas it is essential to promote the development of friendly relations between nations. Whereas the peoples of the United Nations have in the Charter reaffirmed their faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person and in the equal rights of men and women, and have determined to promote social progress and better standards of life and larger freedom. Whereas member states have pledged themselves to achieve, in cooperation with the United Nations, the promotion of universal respect for and observance of human rights and fundamental freedoms. Whereas a common understanding of these rights and freedoms is of the greatest importance for the full realization of this pledge. Now, therefore, the General Assembly proclaims this Universal Declaration of Human Rights as a common standard of achievement for all peoples and all nations, to the end that every individual and every organ of society, keeping this declaration constantly in mind, shall strive by teaching and education to promote respect for these rights and freedoms, and by progressive measures, national and international, to secure their universal and effective recognition and observance, both among the peoples of member states themselves and among the peoples of territories under their jurisdiction. Article 1. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood. Article 2. Everyone is entitled to all the rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration, without distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. Furthermore, no distinction shall be made on the basis of the political, jurisdictional, or international status of the country or territory to which a person belongs, whether it be independent, trust, non-self-governing, or under any other limitation of sovereignty. Article 3. Everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of person. Article 4. No one shall be held in slavery or servitude. Slavery and the slave trade shall be prohibited in all their forms. Article 5. No one shall be subjected to torture or to cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. Article 6. Everyone has the right to recognition everywhere as a person before the law. Article 7. All are equal before the law and are entitled without any discrimination to equal protection of the law. All are entitled to equal protection against any discrimination in violation of this declaration and against any incitement to such discrimination. Article 8. Everyone has the right to an effective remedy by the competent national tribunals for acts violating the fundamental rights granted him by the Constitution or by law. Article 9. No one shall be subjected to arbitrary arrest, detention, or exile. Article 10. Everyone is entitled in full equality to a fair and public hearing by an independent and impartial tribunal, in the determination of his rights and obligations and of any criminal charge against him. Article 11. 1. Everyone charged with a penal offence has the right to be presumed innocent until proved guilty according to law in a public trial at which he has had all the guarantees necessary for his defence. 2. No one shall be held guilty of any penal offence on account of any act or omission which did not constitute a penal offence, under national or international law, at the time when it was committed. Nor shall a heavier penalty be imposed than the one that was applicable at the time the penal offence was committed. Article 12. No one shall be subjected to arbitrary interference with his privacy, family, home, or correspondence, nor to attacks upon his honor and reputation. Everyone has the right to the protection of the law against such interference or attacks. Article 13. 1. Everyone has the right to freedom of movement and residence within the borders of each state. 2. Everyone has the right to leave any country, including his own, and to return to his country. Article 14. 1. Everyone has the right to seek and to enjoy in other countries asylum from persecution. 2. This right may not be invoked in the case of prosecutions genuinely arising from non-political crimes or from acts contrary to the purposes and principles of the United Nations. Article 15. 1. Everyone has the right to a nationality. 2. No one shall be arbitrarily deprived of his nationality nor denied the right to change his nationality. Article 16. 1. Men and women of full age, without any limitation due to race, nationality or religion, have the right to marry and to found a family. They are entitled to equal rights as to marriage, during marriage, and at its dissolution. 2. Marriage shall be entered into only with the free and full consent of the intending spouses. 3. The family is the natural and fundamental group unit of society and is entitled to protection by society and the state. Article 17. 1. Everyone has the right to own property alone as well as in association with others. 2. No one shall be arbitrarily deprived of his property. Article 18. Everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. This right includes freedom to change his religion or belief and freedom, either alone or in community with others and in public or private, to manifest his religion or belief in teaching, practice, worship, and observance. Article 19. Everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers. Article 20. 1. Everyone has the right to freedom of peaceful assembly and association. 2. No one may be compelled to belong to an association. Article 21. 1. Everyone has the right to take part in the government of his country, directly or through freely chosen representatives. 2. Everyone has the right of equal access to public service in his country. 3. The will of the people shall be the basis of the authority of government. This will shall be expressed in periodic and genuine elections which shall be by universal and equal suffrage and shall be held by secret vote or by equivalent free voting procedures. Article 22. Everyone, as a member of society, has the right to social security and is entitled to realization, through national effort and international cooperation and in accordance with the organization and resources of each state, of the economic, social, and cultural rights indispensable for his dignity and the free development of his personality. Article 23. 1. Everyone has the right to work, to free choice of employment, to just and favorable conditions of work and to protection against unemployment. 2. Everyone, without any discrimination, has the right to equal pay for equal work. 3. Everyone who works has the right to just and favorable remuneration, ensuring for himself and his family an existence worthy of human dignity and supplemented, if necessary, by other means of social protection. 4. Everyone has the right to form and to join trade unions for the protection of his interests. Article 24. Everyone has the right to rest and leisure, including reasonable limitation of working hours and periodic holidays with pay. Article 25. 1. Everyone has the right to a standard of living adequate for the health and well-being of himself and of his family, including food, clothing, housing, and medical care and necessary social services, and the right to security in the event of unemployment, sickness, disability, widowhood, old age or other lack of livelihood in circumstances beyond his control. 2. Motherhood and childhood are entitled to special care and assistance. All children, whether born in or out of wedlock, shall enjoy the same social protection. Article 26. 1. Everyone has the right to education. Education shall be free, at least in the elementary and fundamental stages. Elementary education shall be compulsory. Technical and professional education shall be made generally available, and higher education shall be equally accessible to all on the basis of merit. 2. Education shall be directed to the full development of the human personality and to the strengthening of respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. It shall promote understanding, tolerance, and friendship among all nations, racial or religious groups, and shall further the activities of the United Nations for the maintenance of peace. 3. Parents have a prior right to choose the kind of education that shall be given to their children. Article 27. 1. Everyone has the right freely to participate in the cultural life of the community, to enjoy the arts, and to share in scientific advancement and its benefits. 2. Everyone has the right to the protection of the moral and material interests resulting from any scientific, literary, or artistic production of which he is the author. Article 28. Everyone is entitled to a social and international order in which the rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration can be fully realized. Article 29. 1. Everyone has duties to the community in which alone the free and full development of his personality is possible. 2. In the exercise of his rights and freedoms, everyone shall be subject only to such limitations as are determined by law solely for the purpose of securing due recognition and respect for the rights and freedoms of others, and of meeting the just requirements of morality, public order, and the general welfare in a democratic society. 3. These rights and freedoms may in no case be exercised contrary to the purposes and principles of the United Nations. Article 30. Nothing in this declaration may be interpreted as implying for any state, group, or person any right to engage in any activity or to perform any act aimed at the destruction of any of the rights and freedoms set forth herein. Chapter 2. Character and Morality 2. Emotional Intelligence Info. Emotional intelligence is about empathy, feeling what others feel. How to be relaxed and avoid stress. How to decrease conflicts with others. How to have good relationships. Know yourself to be stable and strong. To me, it's one of them psychobabble terms that some psychobabbleist, Daniel Goleman, created in order to convince people they were deficient in emotional empathy so he could create a mini-industry by selling books, tests, and workshops on it. He makes the fallacious assumption that the human personality can be dissected into different, discrete parts, one of which is emotional intelligence, but it's all a crock of crap because we're holistic beings. Everything we think and do is tied into our emotions. We can't separate them from the rest of ourselves. Gottman.com, Goleman.com, Emotional Intelligence. eiconsortium.org, Consortium for Research on Emotional Intelligence in Organizations. eqperformance.com, Institute for Organizational Performance, bring emotional intelligence into organizations. unh.edu/emotional_intelligence. emotionaliq.com. equniversity.com, Emotional Intelligence Assessment. Emotion websites. aco.org/information/support/psychological-emotional.aspx. darkpersonalities.com. emotionalhealthonline.com. emotionalintelligencecentral.org. emotionalliteracyeducation.com. emotionalsupportanimals.org. emotionalsource6val.com, for police and others who mediate. emotionsrule.com. emotionsuniverse.com. eqi.org/emotions.htm, emotions importance of, management of negative feelings. faqs.org/faqs/support/emotional/resources-list, emotional support on the Internet. Gottman.com, Emotional Intelligence. Guide to Psychology.com. healthemotions.org/index.html, biology of positive emotions. heartmath.com, master your emotions. helpguide.org/mental/emotional_psychological_trauma.htm, emotional and psychological trauma. helpguide.org/mental/mental_emotional_health.htm. helping.apa.org, the American Psychological Association, how their services can help people deal with problems. human-emotions.com. psychologytoday.com. socialpsychology.org. socialthinking.com. uncommonwedge.co.uk/emotional_well-being/steps.html, basic needs steps by uncommon knowledge. wiki.answers.com/q/what_are_the_emotional_needs_of_person. worldofemotions.com. personalityresearch.org. Chapter 3. Character and Morality 3. The website goodhumans.com vs. The Ten Commandments. The ACLU did away with religion in the schools in the 1960s. Did this lead to a moral decline of American society? I was brought up going to Catholic schools, having religious classes for a half an hour every morning. In 1986, I was going to graduate school for some stuff called educational psychology, where they were teaching us the new paradigm, moral relativism. Everyone has their own moral code and you must respect that. Never mind that the moral code might be that I like to rape and murder young women, the lesson was to respect everyone with their own standards. I came across this website goodhumans.com. I went through the first page and I thought, what a joke. Near the bottom of the page, the creator of this website says, "Become gay. Homosexuals are far more clean and upstanding than the straight slobs. More homos make the world an okay place to live and commit sodomy." I specifically remember statements in the book of Leviticus saying homosexuality is bad. Somebody must have had a good reason to write this 3,500 years ago. The writer of this website says things like, buy tree-free paper. Resist using aluminum foil, plastic wrap and plastic bags. Reuse jars and plastic containers. Use rechargeable batteries. Work from home. Add mulch around your plants. Add weather strip and caulk around windows and doors. Ask your utility company for a home energy audit. Avoid aerosols. Avoid the drink box. Be an anarchist. Be an environmental activist. What does all this crap have to do with being a good person? So now we got some massively brainwashed person defining what good is for me. Then we got Republicans and Democrats thinking their side is the good side and everyone else is evil. I don't listen to any human being. They're all brainwashed and inherently evil. Just read the Old Testament. The Ten Commandments is good enough for me. The Ten Commandments can be found in Exodus 20:1-17 of the Old Testament of the Holy Bible. It is sometimes called the basis of Mosaic law after Moses, who brought the tablets down from the mountain, given to him by God. 1. I am the Lord thy God. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. 2. Thou shalt not make any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is under the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down to them or serve them. 3. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. 4. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. 5. Honor thy father and mother. 6. Thou shalt not kill. 7. Thou shalt not commit adultery. 8. Thou shalt not steal. 9. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. 10. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Some notes from Bill Clinton's Morality at spectacle.org/1096/wilson.html. The final issue to me is that there are absolute standards of morality. Once a society refuses to acknowledge that, it degenerates and eventually self-destructs. What is a moral act to some, might seem immoral to others. Examples: Dr. Kevorkian, assisted death. abortion, homosexuality. Politicians pander for votes. They say what the people who they're talking to want even if it's morally wrong. A master politician is a good con artist. A moral person honest and consistent. Moral people with core beliefs are too honest for the dirty play of politics. Religions give structure and substance. Absolute moral standards are not inflicting harm on people who are not threatening you. Be honest and truthful. Morality websites at dmoz-odp.org/society/religion_and_spirituality/morality. Subcategories: Atheist, Buddhist, Christian, Freemason, Scientology, Abortion, End of life, Human rights, Peace, Poverty, Violence. Spectacle.org/1096/wilson.html, Bill Clinton's Morality, an editorial on the moral decline or redefinition or morality in the political world. Unification.net/ws/theme152.htm, World Scripture, War Against Evil, comparative discussion of sacred texts on the subject of evil. Goodhumans.com/guidelines, Good Humans Guidelines, help define what it means to be a good human being. Check out our in-depth rating system and get a measurement of your goodness. You can learn how to become a good human and help us define what that is. leaderu.com/org/probe/docs/sociobio.html, Sociobiology, Evolution, Genes, and Morality, about sociobiology, which claims to explain the origin and meaning of all human and animal social behavior in terms of genetics and natural selection. acme.com/jef/religion_sex, religion and sexual ethics, chart showing the positions of several major religions regarding sexuality issues. hi-ho.ne.jp/taku77, moral issues, research articles, and other essays regarding character education in the United States and Japan. Information about topics such as teenage pregnancy and school crime. pbs.org/wnet/religion and ethics, religion and ethics news, weekly news, information, transcripts, and forum related to PBS television series on religious and ethical issues. theology.edu/moral.htm, morality by R.P. Nettelhorst, is morality absolute and universal? Along the lines of the laws of physics? ourcivilization.com/moral/moral8.htm, recognizing good and evil, an explanation how good and evil are distinguished. Moralityinmedia.org, Morality in Media, interfaith organization established in 1962 to combat obscenity and uphold decency standards in the media. It maintains the National Obscenity Law Center. Onalifa.com, One Life, the relationship between evolution, genetics, morality, ethics, psychology, education, and culture. Frisian.com/moral-2.htm, morality, justice, and judicial moralism, says the worst edict that can possibly be imagined is the edict that permits liberty of conscience, the worst thing in the world. An essay on the relativity of ethics, morals, and conscience without a common basis. Fordham.edu/Halsall/mod/1794 Robespierre.asp, on the principles of political morality, a speech given by Maximilien Robespierre in February 1794. Unification.net/ws/theme058.htm, World Scripture, Good and Evil, how can we define what is good and what is evil? Touches upon several religious backgrounds for thoughts on good and evil. Chapter 4. Self-esteem and personality psychology. Good and bad self-esteem. The psychobabble industry comes up with the terms self-esteem, self-actualization, personality, identity, etc., then create all kinds of stupid articles, tests, and books about them, but I know it's all BS. You will never be happy unless you discover your true nature away from everything you've ever been brainwashed by, then honor it by releasing that natural energy every day to match your inherent standard of what a noble version of you is. Your true nature is the pure you. You don't need the world's bullshit to know you have a purity you should follow and live by. Keep piling the bullshit onto all those naive college students. I didn't write this. I believe I have a soul and that's it. One-liners mean nothing to me. My engine is my true nature / soul / essence. Good self-esteem. You have an overall feeling of hope about life. You treat others with kindness and respect. You're thankful for what you have. You exert a healthy level of independence. You feel little need to compare yourself with others. You're comfortable with failure. You're not afraid to say no. You're willing to work hard. You shy away from gossip. You have confidence in your own abilities. You take care of yourself, both physically and emotionally. You have a desire to help others. You know it's okay to lose or not always finish in first place. You seek out or are accepting of change. You have a strong sense of personal responsibility. You're open-minded to other viewpoints and opinions. Bad self-esteem. You're quick to get jealous or envious. You're constantly negative about yourself and / or others. Your feeling of self-worth is based on how you compare to other people. You gloss over positive things in life and dwell on the negatives. You feel compelled to achieve perfection. You're overly private or secretive. You fish for compliments. You constantly procrastinate or waste time with respect to the task at hand. You have frequent feelings of self-doubt. You're quick to blame others for personal mistakes or problems. You try to control others. You're overly positive, almost to the point of delusion. You internalize general negativity in the world by using it as proof of low self-worth. Self-esteem websites / identity personality websites. self-esteem-nase.org, NACE, National Association for Self-Esteem. allpsych.com/personalities/contents.html, personality synopsis. childdevelopmentinfo.com. cln.org/themes/self_esteem.html, self-esteem. eapp.org, European Association of Personality Psychology. ericberne.com, author of Games People Play and founder of Transactional Analysis. freudpsa.com, Freud PSA. human-nature.com/esterson/index.html, Freud, Jeffrey Masson and Freud Seduction Theory. issid.org, International Society for the Study of Individual Differences. issweb.org, International Society for Self and Identity. khanacademy.org/test-prep/mcat/individuals-and-society, self-identity, Khan Academy videos. kidshealth.org/kid/feeling/emotion/self_esteem.html, the story on self-esteem. more-selfesteem.com, building self-esteem. panc.ca, Personality and Consciousness, covers historical figures and theorists. perpsy.org, World Conference on Personality, Personality Psychology Foundation. personality-arp.org, Association for Research in Personality. personality-project.org, The Personality Project, links related to personality theory and research. personalityresearch.org, Great Ideas in Personality, focuses on scientific research programs. selfgrowth.com. thepersonalitysystem.org, Personality Psychology, a systems framework approach. Personality Psychology Organizations. aptinternational.org, Association for Psychological Type. personality-arp.org, Association for Research in Personality. arpdonline.com, Association for Research in Personality Disorders. bga.org, Behavior Genetics Association. bsbid.org.uk, British Society of the Psychology of Individual Differences. capt.org, Centre for Applications of Psychological Type. eapp.org, European Association of Personality Psychology. id-assoc.org, Individual Differences Association. Colorado.edu, Institute for Behavioral Genetics. issid.org, International Society for the Study of Individual Differences. groups.psychology.org.au/PIDPIG, Personality and Individual Differences Psychology Interest Group, APS. socialpersonality.ca, Social and Personality Section, Canadian Psychological Association. sbsb.org, Society for Personality and Social Psychology, Division 8 of the APA. personality.org, Society for Personality Assessment. Personality Journal websites. interscience.wiley.com/cgi-bin/jhome/4494, European Journal of Personality, EAPP Journal. idr-journal.com, Individual Differences Research. hograph.com/periodicals/journal-of-individual-differences, Journal of Individual Differences. wiley.com/bw/journal.asp?ref=0022-3506, Journal of Personality. apa.org/pubs/journals/psp, Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, APA Journal. tandf.co.uk/journals/titles/00223891.asp, Journal of Personality Assessment, SPA Journal. elsevier.com/wps/find/journal description.cws_home/622897/description, Journal of Research in Personality, ARP Journal. sciencedirect.com/science/journal/019188669, Personality and Individual Differences, ISID Journal. sbsb.org/page=PSBB, Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin, SPSP Journal. sbsb.org/page=PSBR, Personality and Social Psychology Review, SPSP Journal. apa.org/pubs/journals/PA, Psychological Assessment, APA Journal. Chapter 5. Ethnic Culture Guide. Culture websites. academiccommons.org, aclassichandicraft.com, affordablehousing-alliance.com, atopworldwide.org, Threat Assessment, beforeidie.cc, bioartsociety.fi/deep_time/deep-time-of-life-and-art, biography.com, blog.splitwise.com, breathingearth.net, cdc.gov/phppost/pce, census.gov, census.gov/he/www/poverty/poverty.html, separ.net, chartercities.org, cia.gov/library/publications/the-world-factbook, CIA World Factbook, citylab.com, citimoears.com, cityofboston.gov/doit/apps/citizensconnect.asp, cnu.org, codeforamerica.org, cohousing.org, collegenews.org, communicate.com/cross-cultural-training/intercultural-awareness.php, communities.idea.gov.uk, councileforecon.org, cpnas.org, cprconservation.com, cert.org, ctbia.org, cultures.com, cwis.org, Center for World Indigenous Studies, deeproot.com, diku.com, earth911.com, ecology-and-society.org, economicsnetwork.ac.uk, edda.org, eesi.org, emptyhomes.com, en.wikibooks.org, en.wikipedia.org/w/index.php ? Title =cultural_artifact en.wikipedia.org/wiki/community en.wikipedia.org/wiki/community_building en.wikipedia.org/wiki/community_center en.wikipedia.org/wiki/community_engagement en.wikipedia.org/wiki/community_of_practice en.wikipedia.org/wiki/community_organization community en.wikipedia.org/wiki/community_service en.wikipedia.org/wiki/community_standards en.wikipedia.org/wiki/comprehensive_planning en.wikipedia.org/wiki/concurrence en.wikipedia.org/wiki/condescension en.wikipedia.org/wiki/counterculture en.wikipedia.org/wiki/culture_shock en.wikipedia.org/wiki/cross-cultural en.wikipedia.org/wiki/cultural_anthropology en.wikipedia.org/wiki/cultural_bias en.wikipedia.org/wiki/cultural_bias en.wikipedia.org/wiki/cultural_diversity en.wikipedia.org/wiki/cultural_diversity en.wikipedia.org/wiki/cultural_identity en.wikipedia.org/wiki/cultural_heritage en.wikipedia.org/wiki/transformation_of_culture en.wikipedia.org/wiki/cultural_hegemony en.wikipedia.org/wiki/cultural_heritage en.wikipedia.org/wiki/cultural_heritage_management en.wikipedia.org/wiki/cultural_identity en.wikipedia.org/wiki/cultural_imperialism en.wikipedia.org/wiki/culture en.wikipedia.org/wiki/culture en.wikipedia.org/wiki/culture_shock en.wikipedia.org/wiki/ethnic_groups en.wikipedia.org/wiki/ethnic_studies en.wikipedia.org/wiki/indoctrination en.wikipedia.org/wiki/cultural_assimilation, cultural assimilation en.wikipedia.org/wiki/multiculturalism en.wikipedia.org/wiki/cultural_imperialism en.wikipedia.org/wiki/cultural_anthropology en.wikipedia.org/wiki/intercultural_competence en.wikipedia.org/wiki/peer_group en.wikipedia.org/wiki/peer_pressure en.wikipedia.org/wiki/peer_production en.wikipedia.org/wiki/popular_culture en.wikipedia.org/wiki/primitive_culture en.wikipedia.org/wiki/social_of_race_and_ethnic_relations en.wikipedia.org/wiki/subculture en.wikipedia.org/wiki/traditional_society en.wikipedia.org/wiki/cultural_heritage_management en.wikipedia.org/wiki/urban_decay en.wikipedia.org/wiki/urban_ecology en.wikipedia.org/wiki/urban_morphology en.wikipedia.org/wiki/urban_planning en.wikipedia.org/wiki/urban_sprawl en.wiktionary.org/wiki/coexistence en.wiktionary.org/wiki/indifference enterpriseworks.org epa.gov/air/noise.html famoushistoricalevents.net friendsofthepleistocene.com generation1.org.au geologicnow.com geometry.uiuc.edu/education/calc-init/population. greatimmigrants.carnegie.org. gsdrc.org. historicalmemoryproject.com. historic-mempis.com. historyrb.com. history-timeline.com. h-net.org. honestbuildings.com. howstuffworks.com. learningthroughhistory.com. livingonone.org. longevitymim.org. longnow.org. northbyestar.org. pcaaca.org, Popular Culture Association/American Culture Association. peopleandplanet.org. polucenter.org. populationmedia.org. poverty.com. preservationdirectory.com. psea.com. rand.org. seniorcitizenstories.com. sociallypsyched.org. socialprogressimperative.org. socials2ds4kids.com. spacesentax.net. spotlightonpoverty.org. symbolism.org. teachingamericanhistory.org. ted.com. thefamouspeople.com. thehowcofwonder.org. thenaturofcities.com. thepeoplehistory.com. thepovertyline.net. thevenusproject.com. thezeitgeistmovement.com. threatassessment.vt.edu. timerime.com. unesco.org. UNESCO. abanecologycollaborative.org. worldlifeexpectancy.com. worldometers.info. worldpopulationbalance.org. worldwide.edu, Worldwide Classroom, Intercultural and Educational Programs. Indian links page. montauk.org/page 12.html. Links to more than 350 Native American-oriented websites. Black Heroes in the Spiritual Anyam. oniaim.com/index.asp. Offering insight into the cosmological worlds of peoples of African descent. Echoes of the Ancestors. Molidoma.com. Molidoma Sum is a fully initiated shaman of the Dagara tribe of West Central Africa. Hopi Way. timesoft.com/Hopi. Touch the Earth Foundation. Mayan Civilization. chriscienzo.com/Jaguar. Seven Fires Foundation. 7fires.org. Seven Fires Foundation is a non-profit organization whose mission is to provide humanitarian services and preserve the ancient traditions. Tamoanchan. tamoanchan.org. Our mission is to create a self-sufficient teaching center called Tamoanchan, where Aztec traditions can be transmitted and applied. Culture and Psychology/cross-cultural psychology websites. psychiatrictimes.com. psichi.org. iaccp.org/teaching/syllabi.html, course syllabi for cross-cultural psychology. cerebromanti.org.br/n05/doenca/phobias_i.htm, phobias, when fear is a disease, by Ciro Massi, MD. Discusses different types and causes, cultural influences. iaccp.org/teaching/films.html, video and film suggestions for cross-cultural psychology from the IACP. cap.sagepub.com, culture and psychology. culturalstudies.net, Cultural Studies Central. cultureomics.org, Cultureomics. iaccp.org, International Association for Cross-Cultural Psychology. iaccp.org/drupal/node/13, Cross-Cultural Psychology Bulletin, IACP Newsletter. iaccp.org/jccp, Journal of Cross-Cultural Psychology, IACP Journal. internationalpsychology.net, International Psychology, APA Division 52. journals.elsevier.com/international-journal-of-intercultural-relations. pcaaca.org, Popular Culture Association/American Culture Association. sccr.org, Society for Cross-Cultural Research. sccr.org/ccr/ccr.html, Cross-Cultural Research, SCCR Journal. theory.eserver.org, eServer Cultural Studies and Critical Theory. theory.org.uk, Social Theory for Fans of Popular Culture. uiowa.edu/tilde-coms/tud/resources/cultural-studies.html, Cultural Studies Resources. vos.ucsb.edu/browse.asp?id=2709, Cultural Studies page. www.edu/culture/contents_complete.htm, Online Readings in Psychology and Culture. www.edu/culture/contents_complete.htm, Online Readings in Psychology and Culture. World Culture Websites/ethnic websites. I define culture as the activities people do to bond, have fun, socialize and keep their heritage/roots strong. In the artistic sense, culture is what people do to define themselves and to metaphorically connect with the gods, to touch transcendence, go further than the usual rite of the human condition. Culture helps us learn more about each other so we respect each other more. In a mass media, pop culture global village, every culture is becoming the same. You got Japanese kids making rap videos, guys wearing earrings everywhere, everybody watching the same Nike ads. Try number 900 number 904 at the library. Culturefinder.com 123world.com/society and culture. AAAstudies.org, Asian Pacific American. APFDN.org, African American Heritage Preservation Foundation, Inc. AIP.org, Association of American Indian Physicians. AAIUSA.org, Arab American Institute. ACSUS.org, Association for Canadian Studies in the United States. acu.edu/academics/library/reference/culture.html. adc.org, the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee. africanstudies.org. afrol.com/index/cultureindex_world.htm. aicgs.org, American Institute for Contemporary German Studies. aihec.org, American Indian Higher Education Consortium. ailanet.org, American Indian Library Association. aimmagazine.org, Racial Harmony. aimovement.org, American Indian Movement. airpi.org, American Indian Research and Policy Institute. aces.org, American Indian Science and Engineering Society. ajhs.org, the American Jewish Historical Society. allposters.com, World Culture Posters. alpfa.org, American Association of Hispanic Certified Public Accountants. amesite.org, Association of Multi-Ethnic Americans. americans-world.org. americas.org. amscan.org, Scandinavian. anacleta.com, Culture Resources. aoh.com, Ancient Order of Hibernians in America. apbad.pt, the Portuguese Association of Librarians, Archivists, and Documentalists. artsurveymichigan.org, Arts Foundation of Michigan. artsmia.org/world-myths/art by culture. asian-studies.org. asiasociety.org. aworldconnected.org. bannekermath.org. bbc.co.uk/worldservice. bestart.com/grid/subject/1015, art prints of world culture. blackpeopleloviews.com. bluecloud.org/dakota.html, American Indian Culture Research Center. bnaibrith.org. Britannica.com/eb, brooklyn.cuny.edu/p-halsall/other.html, links to world culture. CALA-WEB.org, Chinese American Librarians Association. ccds.charlotte.nc.us/history/index.html, world cultures resources. celticlife.ca. census.gov, ethnic populations in America. CLUI.org, Center for Land Use Interpretation. CMPA.com, the Center for Media and Public Affairs. columbusart.com/artscene/worldart.html. commongroundgroup.com. countryreports.org. cs.org, Cultural Survival. culturalliving.com. culturalprofiles.net. Culture Center. coal2reconnect.com. coal2reconnect.com. coal2reconnect.com/webcams. culturecult.com. culturegrams.com. culturalink.org. cultureplanet.com. culturistory.com. culturewars.org.uk. dntownsend.com/site/rock/rcksum.htm, changing the world, music. eoc.evansville.edu, exploring ancient world cultures. edschool.virginia.edu/go/multicultural. education-world.com. en.wikipedia.org/w/index.php ? Title =cultural_artifact. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/culture. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/demographics_of_the_United_States. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/expatriate. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/mere-exposure_effect. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/museum_of_world_culture, Museum of World Culture. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/race_and_ethnicity_in_the_United_States. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/salvage_ethnography. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/social_constructivism. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/tribal_knowledge, tribal knowledge. scr.org, the Egyptian Society for Spiritual and Cultural Research. ethnicnow.com. ethnicstudies.org. ethnologue.com. ethnomusic.ukla.edu. everyculture.com. everyculture.com. eworldevents.com. festivalofworldcultures.com. filipinasmag.com. flickr.com/groups/culture. frmt.org/Nkamarigoberta Menchu Tum Foundation. geographicraphia.com. geoleadership.com/index.html, a geology eater is a global leader who leads through cultures and contexts. georgetown.edu/tamlit/info/sepacs.html, Center for Electronic Projects in American Culture Studies. germanlife.com. globalknowledge.org. globalvoicesonline.org. gpc.edu/tilde/shale/literature/culture/culture.html, resources for the study of world cultures. hadassah.org, Israel. hatw.net/culture.asp, hands across the world. heritagekey.com. hindubooks.org/sudhir_birodekar/India_contribution, India's contribution to world culture. hirsch.cozy.sbg.ac.at/www-virtual-library_culture.html. hkw.de/index_n.html, House of World Cultures. hnba.com, Hispanic National Bar Association. h-net.org. h-net.org. homeschooling.gomilpetus.com/directory/socialstudies.htm homeschooling.gomilpetus.com/explore/sosci.htm hometown.aol.com/bowermanb/culture.html hsofmh.org huntington.edu/srs, the Society for Romanian Studies IACA.com, the Indian Arts and Crafts Association IAJGS.org, International Association of Jewish Genealogical Societies ICCS-CIEC.ca, International Council for Canadian Studies ILI.nativeweb.org, Indigenous Law Institute imagiverse.org indiana.edu/ethmusic, Society for Ethnomusicology indiana.edu/Mathers, William Hammond Mathers Museum, Museum of World Cultures infoplease.com/world.html interculturalpress.com interculturalrelations.com international.loc.gov international.loc.gov/intldl/intldl home.html, global gateway international.loc.gov/intldl/intldl home.html, global gateway, world culture ipl.org/div/sequest ipl.org/div/kidspace/browse/audi5000 ipl.org/div/kidspace/sequest, culture quest ipl.org/kidspace/browse/audi5000 ipl.org/youth/hello, say hello to the world project, say hello in over 70 different languages and access cultural links irishgenealogical.org isam.biaz/archives/2005/12/world-culture-forum-blog, World Culture Forum blog ITSEmembers.org, Intertribal Environmental Council of Oklahoma JACL.org, Japanese American Citizens League JDL.org, the Jewish Defense League JETRO.org, Japan External Trade Organization jin.jcic.or.jp/navi/category_6.html, Japanese culture JewelUKAnews.com, South Africa JustForKids.com, 847-803-8783 khabar.com, India American lhasa.international.pit.edu, Latin American Studies Association latina.com leaandilo.com, 888-320-3395, Multi-ethnic books lib.utk.edu/diversity/culture corner loc.gov/folklife/other.html, resources in ethnographic studies loc.gov/rr/international/portals.html, portals to the world log.electrolyte.net/stories/209, the first World Culture Forum held in Sao Paulo logoi.com/logoi_notes.html, languages and cultures the fun way lse.ac.uk/collections/ASIN, the Association for the Study of Ethnicity and Nationalism lulac.org, League of United Latin American Citizens mariposamuseum.org, Mariposa Museum and World Culture Center, Peterborough, NH mariposamuseum.org/events.html, Mariposa Museum and World Culture Center, Peterborough, NH, workshops, etc. mecca.org/wcf/partners.shtm, World Culture Forum mesa.arizona.edu, Middle East Studies Association minorityamerica.com mjaa.net, Monty Jade Science and Technology Association multiculturalcalendar.com multiculturalkids.com, 800-711-2321 multiracial.com muohio.edu/CAUSE, Center for American and World Cultures NAAAS.org, National Association of African American Studies. NAPABA.org, the National Asian Pacific American Bar Association. NARF.org, Native American Rights Fund. NationalForum.com. NationalGeographic.com. ncsu.edu/ncsu/stud_org/native_american/index.html, Society of Native American Culture, promotes Native American culture. newdimensions.org. NIAF.org, Italian. NIAF.org, National Italian American Foundation. NINCH.org, National Initiative for a Networked Cultural Heritage. NITI.org, National Indian Telecommunications Institute. NSBE.org, National Society of Black Engineers. NSHOP.org, National Society for Hispanic Professionals. OSI.org, Italian. OSI.org, Order Sons of Italy in America. pacificnet.net/tilde/quiz/world1.html, world pacificnet.net/tilde/quiz/world2.html, world culture. partyguideinline.com, Institute for Traditional Studies.org. pbs.org/frontlineworld/educators/culture.html. pch.gc.ca/about-docs/native-e/native_e.htm, Canada's Native People. psarchpark.org/worldculturiopen.htm. pscore.gov/wws/educators/culture.html. piusa.org, Pacific Intercultural Exchange. Peology.com, travel magazine with a focus on world culture. peology.com/blog, travel and world culture. portal.unesco.org/culture. public.ia state.edu/tilde/rjslvad/scmfaq/mesobibi.html, Latin America. kia.com. reforma.org. rom.on.ca/collections/culture.php. rom.on.ca/exhibitions/wculture/index.php, Royal Ontario Museum. rootsworld.com. rourkepublishing.com/library/series.aspx. russianlife.net. sacnas.org, Society for Advancement of Chicanos and Native Americans in Science. scottishheritageusa.org. search-institute.org. shepherdsoftware.com/world_continents.htm, map games. skippingstons.org. snowhawk.com/cultures.html. sociology.emory.edu/globalization. sociology.emory.edu/jboli/cwc, constructing world culture. sup.org. sweden.se, the Museum of World Culture, Gothenburg, Sweden. taac.com, Association of American Cultures. talkaboutculture.com. tckworld.com, Third Culture Kids. teacher.scholastic.com/lesson repro/k_2theme/world.htm. teachersfirst.com/layan-world.htm, world cultures lessons. thebritishmuseum.ac.uk/world/world.html, world cultures. theglobalist.com. theworldcafe.com. tac.net/users/thazlet African Black Cultural Studies. tourism-culture.com. transhuman.org. treatycouncil.org, International Indian Treaty Council. tunisiancommunity.org, Tunisian Community Center. ualberta.ca/tilde-s-coleman/culture. ucc.ca, Ukrainian Canadian Congress. unesco.org/culture. unesco.org/culture/world report. unityinc.org, United National Indian Tribal Youth. varldskulturmuseit.se, Museum of World Culture. villagehatshop.com/hats-in-world-culture.html. washingtontimes.com/culture. wcfalliance.org, World Culture Forum Alliance. wcfcorp.org, a World Culture Forum agenda for the Arab world. wct.greenwood.com/wcthome.jsp. wdcm.nig.ac.jp/hpcc.html, culture collections in the world. webdoc.com/journal.html. webofculture.com. webwines.com/cards/cards6.htm, world culture electronic postcards. whc.unesco.org, World Heritage. worldandy.com. worldbeatplanet.com. worldculture.com. worldculture.org, Institute of World Culture. worldcultureopen.org. worldmag.com. worldmusicinstitute.org. worldofnews.com. worldpress.org/culture.htm. worldviewer.com. wsu.edu/d. wtsn.binghamton.edu/ans, the American Name Society. wwar.com, Worldwide Arts Resources. yahooligans.yahoo.com/around_the_world/countries. yahooligans.yahoo.com/school_bell/social_studies/cultures. Ethnic groups in America. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/list_of_ethnic_organizations. igc.org/cip, list of ethnic groups, California. ethnicmajority.com. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/list_of_ethnic_organizations. tamililibrary.org. afghanistanpeace.com. ihs.org, Irish. alauza.org, Latvian. polishforums.com. americanheritage.com. americawoche.com, German. amscan.com, Scandinavian Review. amscan.org, Scandinavian. arianaafghan.com, Afghanistan. aufbauonline.com, German. bangazammelon.com, Bangladesh. beiruttimes.net, Lebanon. bostonirish.com. braziel.com, Brazil. sekamata.com, Afghanistan. celticheritage.ns.ca. celticheritage.ns.ca. chicagocitizen.org. chomedinews.com, Greek, Canadian. commonplace.org, American Heritage. cvntv.com, Cape Verde. dana.edu/das, Danish. enet.hu/bp week 1, Hungary. fncmedia.co.uk. faanoos.com, Arab, Canadian. farsinet.com, Iranian people. filipinasmag.com. finamhsw.com, Finnish. flprimo.com, Italian. france.com/mag. france-amerique.com, French. germancorner.com. germanlife.com. germanlife.com. goswiss.com, Swiss. greece.org. greekamericans.com. grhs.com, Germans from the Russian Heritage Society. Guyana.org. hernik.org/frames, Armenian. hchc.edu, Greek. highlandermagazine.com, Scottish. inac.org/Irish people. irantodayonline.com. irishamerica.com. irishamericanpost.com. irishconnectionsmag.com. irishecho.com. irishdetaillon.com. irish-herald.com. irishvoice.com. israelfixx.com. Italiansworld.org, Italiantribune.com, ItaliesTL.com, Italy, St. Louis. Kaapeli.fi, Finnish. Kościuszkofoundation.org, Polish, Science. Lagaccitanewspaper.com, Italian, Spanish, English. Leopardmag.co.uk, Northeast Scotland. LithuanianAmerican.org. LittleIndia.com, India in the United States. Lituanus.org, Lithuania. Maori.masi.ac.nz/he-pupna-korero, Maori. Masala.com. Metroien.com, Irish. Min.net/ydrych, Welsh. myafghan.com, Afghanistan people. mypaisan.com, Italian. niaf.org, Italian. niaf.org, National Italian American Foundation. Nigeriansinamerica.com. Nordiquay.com, Scandinavia. Nordstigenan.com, Swedish. Norway.org. nslife.com, Slovak. ojournal.com, Portuguese. omade.com, Afghanistan. osi.org, Italian. osi.org, Sons of Italy. pgs.org, Pennsylvania German. pna-znp.org, Polish. polamjournal.com, Polish. polishDailyNews.com. polishfalcons.org. polishfest.org. polishnews.com. portuguesetimes.com. prcua.org, Polish Catholic. pwaa.org, Polish women. rispubs.com, Russian life. rronline.ws, Russian. russianbazaar.com. russianmass.com, Massachusetts. russiancholas.org. sabawun.com, Afghanistan. cirr.org.za, Race Relations, South Africa. sandhills.org/shuzakama, Scottish. scottbanner.com, Scottish American. scottishlife.org. scottishtales.com. serbenatlfed.org, snfonline.org, Serbian. serbworldusa.com. sip-ca.org, Society of Iranian Professionals. snpj.com, Slovenia. sofen.com, Norway. sonsofitalypa.org. swedenamerica.com. swedishamericanhist.org. thehedenishpioneer.com. thehellenictimes.com, Greek. thenationalherald.com, Greek. theturkishtimes.com. theturtleislandnews.com. ukrweekly.com, Ukrainian. underbridge.com/eskathan, Irish. uutiset.com, Finnish. uv.es/thelem, Spain. vesterheim.org, Norwegian. vetchnewyork.com, New York, Russian. westernviking.com, Norway. danishsisterhood.org, the Supreme Lodge of the Danish Sisterhood of America. iafsj.org, the Italian American Heritage Foundation. nikkeheritage.org, the National Japanese American Historical Society. American Jewish Congress. Worldwide Tours. 15 East 84th St. NYC 10028. 800-221-4694. 212-879-458. ajcongresstravel.com. Tours. Basques Festival. Elko, NV. July. They are Portuguese mountain people's descendants. Danish Days. Solving California 93463. September. Dutch-like towns. Holland, Michigan 49323. Pella, Iowa 50219. Orange City, Iowa 51041. German Fests. Williamsburg, VA. Mayfest, Hermann, M.O. German Alps Fest, Hunter MTN. New York, Summer. Bavarian Fest, Barnesville, PA, July. Oktoberfest, Kichthaner, on Canada. Wurstfest, New Braunfels, TX. Greek festivals year-round. Tarpon Springs, Florida, 33589. Heidi Festival. New Glarus, WI. Swiss. Holiday Folk Fair. Milwaukee, WI. Many Cultures. Kolach Festival. Montgomery, MN. May, Czech Festival. Mittersill Alpine Chalets. Franconia, New Hampshire, 03580. Austrian Atmosphere. Oklahoma Czech Festival. Box 211. Yukon, Oklahoma, 73099. October. Polish Museum. 984 Milwaukee. Chicago, Illinois, 60622. Scottish Highland Games. Atlanta, GA. Ligonier, PA. Linville, NC. Dunedin, FL. Antigonish, NS. Stratford, ON, Canada. British Like Atmosphere for Summer Shakespeare Festival. Swiss Trap Family Lodge. Stowe, Vermont, 05672. Swiss Like Atmosphere. Swiss Fest. Bern, MN. Swiss Festival. Sugar Creek, O. Eber Cuban Festival. Tampa, FL. February. Ethnic Media / Ethnic TV. Latino Consortium. 3171 Los Feliz Boulevard. Suite 200. Los Angeles, California, 90039. NLCC.com. Center for Asian American Media. 145 9th Street, Suite 350. San Francisco, California, 94110. Phone, 415-863-0814. Fax, 415-863-7428. AsianAmericanMedia.org. National Black Programming Consortium. 761A Oak Street. Columbus, Ohio, 43205. 614-229-4399. Native American Public Telecommunications. PO Box 83111, Lincoln, Nebraska, 68501. 402-472-3522. African American Culture / Black Culture websites. In many communities across America, there are newspapers geared for the African American demographic. 411web.com/a/American Black Artist Tincture. A/King_Coretta_Scott.hdm, Coretta Scott King. Obdi.chadwick.com, African American Biographical Database. AAIonline.org, African American Institute. AALBC.com, African American Literature Book Club. AALBC.com, Literature Book Club. AAMCleveland.org, African American Museum. AAMDallas.org, African American Museum. AAMPmuseum.org, the African American Museum in Philadelphia. AAR.SLU.edu, Literary Mag. AARegistry.com. AARegistry.com, African American Registry. AARegistry.com, History. AAWR.net, Soldiers. AOC.com, African American Web Connection, Churches, Businesses, etc. AOC.com/AAH.html, Afro-American History. AOC.com/AAH.html, History. AboutTimeMag.com. acct.edu/sac/english/bailey/aframlit.htm, literature. af.mil/news/airman/0299/tusk.htm, Tuskegee Airmen. africa.ufl.edu/sq, African Studies Quarterly. africa.upenn.edu/as.html, African Studies. africa.upenn.edu/home_page/afr_g.html, African Resources on the Internet. africa.upenn.edu/k-12/menu_edu/fam2.html. africana.com. africanacss.com. africanamerica.org. african-american.com, gifts. africanamerican.com, news and information. africanamericanartandgifts.com. africanamericanatelier.org, literature. africanamericanimage.com. africanamericanimage.com, books. africanamericanmag.com. africanamericanopinion.com, congregationalresources.com/aar/resources.health.asp. africanamericanpoliticalpundit.com. africanamericans.com. 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 en.wikipedia.org/wiki/african_american_leftism. african-americansingles.com. african-americanstudies.com. africanamericanyearbook.com. africanherald.com. africanlit.org. africanmarketplace.org. africanrootslibrary.tripod.com, Poughkeepsie. The Sadie Peterson Delaney African Roots Library was created in response to a grassroots initiative to focus on African American contribution to arts and culture. africanstudies.org. africanvoices.com. africaresource.com. africatoday.com. afrigenias.com, genealogy. afrinit.net. afro.com. afrom.org, African American newspapers. afromcivilwar.org. afrommuseum.org, 617-742-1854, African American Museum, Boston. alexanderstreet.com, books. alexia.lis.uiuc.edu/tilde-watts/african.html. allbookstores.com/sermons_American-African_authors_sd.html. amazon.com, The African American Book of Values by Stephen Barboza. American Infant Adoption/article/6178/1.html. amistad.mysticseaport.org/main/welcome.html, slave ship. amsterdamnews.com, NYC. anacostia.si.edu, the Anacostia Museum and Center for African American History and Culture. antharo.uiuc.edu/faculty/cfenol/bookmark3.html, African American Archaeology, History, and Cultures. anti-slavery.org. archives.gov/exhibits/featured_documents/emancipation_proclamation, National Archives. archives.gov/genealogy/heritage/African-American. archives.state.al.us/teachers/rights.html, riding the bus, taking a stand. arisemag.com. artlex.com/art/african_american_1.html, African American art. artnoir.com/aama.html, African American museums. artsge.kennedy-center/exploring/Harlem/faces main_text.html, Harlem music. asalh.org, Association for the Study of African American Life and History. asalh.org, Study of African American Life. auburn.edu/tilde-ralph-wc/ebonycs.html, ebonix. augustafocus.com, Georgia. Battalion, 1944–1947. beans.com. bet.com, TV network. bibliokreview.com. BIN.com, Black Information Network. Biography.com/Black History. BlackAmericaWeb.com. BlackAmericaWeb.com. BlackAppeal.com. BlackBaseball.com. BlackCincinnati.blogspot.com. BlackCommunity.blackvoices.aol.com. BlackCommunity.blackvoices.aol.com. BrownPride.com. BlackDiego.com, San Diego. BlackFacts.com. BlackFamilies.com. BlackFamily.net. BlackFilm.uchicago.edu, Black Film Research Online. BlackGirlMagazine.com. BlackHealthNet.com. BlackHistory.com. BlackHistoryMonthLogo.com. BlackHistoryTourGroup.org. BlackIndex.com. BlackInventor.com. BlackLoyalists.com, Canada. BlackNet.co.uk. BlackNet.co.uk/Family Day, Black Family Day. BlackNews.com. BlackPast.org. BlackPerspective.com. BlackPlanet.com. BlackPlanet.com, a black-oriented online community. BlackProf.com. BlackQuest.com/link.htm. BlackRefer.com. BlackSeaArch.com. Blacksonville.com, Jacksonville, FL area. BlackStarNews.com. BlackState.com. BlackVoice.com. BlackVoiceNews.com. BlackVoices.aol.com. BlackVoices.com. BlackWorld.com. BNL.com/AASM.html, African American products. BNVillage.co.uk. Boards.blackvoices.com. Bodo.com/hotlink/watchinIGHT.htm, Black History. Bookwire.com/QBR. Bowdoin.edu/art-museum/collections/American/African-. Bowdoin.edu/art-museum/collections/American/African-American-1.html. Brightlights.com, books for African Americans. Brightmoments.com/Black History. Brightmoments.com/Black History. BuckeyeWeb.com, Cleveland. BuffaloCriterion.com. BunchCenter.ucla.edu, African American Studies. BUPIE.com. CAAmuseum.org, California African American Museum. cableregina.com/users/ediversity/links.html. Canadian.net/dir/top/visual_arts/ethnic_regional/north_american/African_American. Cardsorbust.com, African American greeting cards and gifts. Carleton.ca/Pan-Africa. Cascom.com. cba.uh.edu/ylowpguess/yblack.html. census.gov/pubinfo/www/nawafmml1.html, Census Bureau minority links. Challengegroup.com. charlottepost.com, North Carolina. chebucto.ns.ca/heritage/bhm, Black History. chipubilib.org/002 branches/woodson/woodsonbib.html, Carter Godwin Woodson, father of Black History. chipubilib.org/002 branches/woodson/woodsonbib.html, Carter Godwin Woodson, father of Black. chocolatecity.cc. cisit.sfcc.edu/s-dupree/reserlike.htm, a roadmap to African American resources. clanrossassociation.com. cnn.com/Black in America. cnn.com/travel/destinations/9801/King, Martin Luther King, Jr. Atlanta birthplace. Cokes.net/people/LWF, African American history. coax.net/people/lwf, homepage for African American history. coe.int/t/e/human_rights/minorities infoseds.com/ifsd/african-american-poetry.htm. collections.chadwick.com, poetry. colorofchange.org. columbia.edu/cu/ccbh/mxb, the Malcolm X Project at Columbia University. columbia.edu/cu/iros, the Institute for Research in African American Studies. columbustimes.com. concentric.net/issues. cr.nps.gov/aa history, our shared history, African American heritage. cr.nps.gov/aa history. cr.nps.gov/museum/exhibits/Tuskegee. cr.nps.gov/nr/travel/civil rights. cstone.net/poems/imrmar1.hdm, poetry. culver.org/academics/infolid/teacher_files/crafting freedom/cfindex.htm, crafting freedom, African Americans, 1800 to 1870. kumbavac.org/black_history.htm. cindyslist.com/african.htm. dallaspost.com. db.edu/cation-browse?cat_id=1242, literature. dclibrary.org/bl-cren, the Black Renaissance in Washington, D.C. denison.edu/library/examples/afroamdis1.html, African American Studies. designcrafters.com/greeting_cards/Christmas_cards/African_American_Christmas_cards_1.html. detnews.com/mahage, Museum of African American History. dgcall.library.wisc.edu/Africa Focus, Africa. digital.nypl.org, African American female writers. dl.lib.brown.edu/sheet music/AFA-M, African American sheet music, 1820 to 1920. docsouth.unc.edu/neh/index.html, history. drum.ncat.edu. dunbarzite.org, poetry of Paul Laurence Dunbar. dusablemuseum.org, Dusable Museum of African American History, Chicago. dvinstitute.org, Institute on Domestic Violence in the African American Community. ebony.com, magazines. egpnews.com, Los Angeles. emerge.com, emergemag.com. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/African_American. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/African_American_art. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/African_American_culture. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/African_American_dance. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/African_American_history. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/African_American_music. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/African_American_review, literature. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/African_American_studies. essence.com. etext.virginia.edu/subjects/African-American.html. euronet.nl/users/jubbo/february.html, Black History Month information. yourweb.com, entertainment. everythingblack.com. easytakes.com/store/categories/black-movies.jsp. facweb.furman.edu/benson/docs, Furman University Documents Project. familitigus.com. fas.harvard.edu/do_bois, du Bois Institute for African and African American Research. ferris.edu/news/Jim Crow, Jim Crow Museum of Racist Memorabilia. floridafamily.com/Black Family Today. freedomcenter.org, National Underground Railroad Freedom Center. gaslightgifts.com/content-categories/cat-129_184/african_american.html, consumer products. giatech.edu/bgsablackpages.html. girlpower.gov/girlarea/gpguests/rosaparks.htm, mother of the civil rights movement. globalindex.com/Kwanzaa. goguides.org/topic/532.html, African American Directory. gop.com/teams/African Americans, Republicans. gort.ucsd.edu/j/message03362.html, agenda, a journal of culture and African women studies. hartford.hwp.com/hbhp/exhibit, Hartford Black History Project, Hartford, Connecticut. history.org/almanac/life/af_amer/aa-life.cfm. history.umd.edu/friedman/home.html, Friedman and Southern Society Project. historycooperative.org/btw, Booker T. Washington Papers. hitchcock.itc.virginia.edu/slavery, the Atlantic Slave Trade. hitchcock.itc.virginia.edu/slavery/index.html. homesofcolor.net, magazine. howard.edu/library. iafrica.com. imdiversity.com/villages/African. imdiversity.com/villages/African/village_African_American.asp. imotech.com. indiana.edu/AAMC, Archives of African American Music and Culture Conference. indiana.edu/AAMC, Music and Culture. indiana.edu/Afromer. indigomagazine.com. indstate.edu/artsci/aar. infoplease.com/spot/bhm1.html, African American Biographies. infoplease.com/spot/bhm1.html, African American Biographies. infoplease.com/spot/bhm1.html, Black History Month. inemodionaim.org, Immigration Experience. inemodionaim.org, The African American Migration Experience. inqnews.com, Hartford, CT Newspaper. iobabooks.com. javanoir.net, African American Resources on the. gendajournal.com, Women. justicebooks.com, African American Books. kccall.com, Kansas. kingframe.html, Martin Luther King, Jr. Timeline. kingtisdale.org/exhibit.htm. kitsapchronicle.com, Washington State Newspaper. kumimagazine.com. kypress.com, Louisville Defender. lcweb2.loc.gov/mm/snhtml/snhome.html, born in slavery. lib.berkeley.edu/L Jones/Jim Crow, Jim Crow laws. lib.berkeley.edu/domoff/Africana, African and African American collections. lib.berkeley.edu/mrc/Africana mvid.html, African American Studies. lib.berkeley.edu/mrc/audiofiles.html, number sign Malcolm, Malcolm X. lib.berkeley.edu/mrc/pacificapanthers.html, a Black Panther chronology. lib.duke.edu/collections/African-American-women.html. lib.lsu.edu/hum/African.html. lib.uchicago.edu/fs/aap, poetry. lib.unc.edu/stone/webguide, the Sonia Haynes Stone Center Library for Black Culture and History. library.adoption.com/African-American/African-. library.louisville.edu/government/subjects/blacks/blackhist.html. library.pit.edu/libraries/African-American/African-American.html. library.stanford.edu/department/ssrg/adams/short/cu/alpha-m.html, African American Studies. library.ucsb.edu/subjects/black feminism. liu.edu/cwis/cwp/library/ava-htm, African American art on the Internet. liu.edu/cwis/cwp/library/mlaking.htm, Martin Luther King, Jr. loc.gov, African American info. loc.gov/exhibits/african/intro.html. loc.gov/exhibits/african/intro.html, African American mosaic. losnegros.com. louisianaweekly.com. mafa.org, African American Holocaust. maah-detroit.org, Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. mahdtroit.org. makeup-girl.com/American-cosmetics-african.html. masshist.org/end-of-slavery, African Americans and the End of Slavery in Massachusetts. maxpages.com/Africanamerica. mayaangelou.com, African American author. medicipublishing.com, several newspapers. mulanete.com, Black cultural website. mulanete.com/wa toto. mlfisher.org/lastslaveships/cemetery.htm. memory.loc.gov/mm/aap/aap-home.html, African American pamphlets, history. memory.loc.gov/mm/aap/aap-home.html, history. memory.loc.gov/mm/aapc.html, from slavery to freedom. memory.loc.gov/mm/collections/sheet music/brown, history. memory.loc.gov/mm/collections/sheet music/brown/aasm about.html, African American sheet music. memory.loc.gov/mm/collections/voices, voices from the days of slavery. memory.loc.gov/mm/doug.html, the Frederick Douglass Papers. memory.loc.gov/mm/dotml/doom.h. memory.loc.gov/mm/sthtml. micmarkers.com/startup.asp, start menu equals blackhist.htm, Michigan Historical Markers Black History. milwaukeecourier.com. ml, Rosa Parks. milkday.org, Martin Luther King, Jr. Day of Service. modesf.org/salon/exhibits/slave_narratives/flash.php, slave narratives. momentsinblackhistory.com. mosaicbooks.com, African American books. msbet.com, magazine. mtsu.edu/vivesper/alpha-m.html, African American writers. multiplecolib.org/homework/aframhc.html. muse.jhu.edu/journals/callaloo, African American literary. naacp.com, colored people. naacp.org, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. National African American Archives.org. nationalgeographic.com/features/99/railroad, Underground Railroad. negrospirituals.com. neoblack.com. netnoir.com, African American books. neworleanstribune.com. NewPittsburghCourier.com, NewYorkBeacon.com, nhlby.nih.gov/health/public/heart/other/chdblack/cooking.htm, black recipes, nigeriansinamerica.com, nmahc.si.edu, National Museum of African American History, northstar.as.uky.edu, The North Star, a journal of African American religious history, nps.gov/boaf,617-742-5415, African American Historic Site, nps.gov/brvb, Brown vs. Board of Education National Historic Site, Ending Segregation in, nps.gov/malu, Martin Luther King Jr. National Historic Site, nul.org/employmentnetwork.html, National Urban League, nvmagazine.com, Business, nwmissouri.edu/libraries/courses/history/afroamericanhistory.html, nypl.org/research/sc/sc.html, Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture, ohiolink.edu/ebooks/ch/afpo, poetry, onalifainc.com, origin.admin.ccny.edu/library/blacks.html, Black Studies, oup.com/us/catalog/general/subject/history American/African American, oup.com/us/catalog/general/subject/history American/African American, Oxford University Press, outthehouse.com, pacbell.com/wired/bhm/index.html, Black History, pathfinderstravel.com, travel mag for minorities, pathsofglory.com, pbs.org/alives, pbs.org/aaworld, pbs.org/blackpress/index.html, pbs.org/wnet/aaworld, African American World, pbskids.org/aaworld, people.cornell.edu/pages/lw25/aa_digital_archives home.htm, Guide to African American Documentary Resources, philadelphia.k12.pa.us/ll/curriculums upport/aa studies/african_american.html, teaching African American history in the 21st century, philadelphiasun.com, Sunday Sun, Philadelphia, phila-tribune.com, pitts.emory.edu/research-assist/subject-head/african-sh.html, African American Studies, plymouth.edu/library/opac/records/12600909, literature, pnonews.com, Philadelphia, poems.com/amtumke1.htm, portlandobserver.com, Oregon, postersprintSandpics.com, pps.k12.or.us/schools-c/pages/bookman/timeline, princeton.edu/aas Prague, proudfleshjournal.com, public schools, public.ia-state.edu/savega/afr_amer.htm, useful websites, qbr.com, Black Book Review, questia.com/search/African-American-women-authors, reference.com/browse/wiki/African_American, ruginmagazine.com, rightonmag.com, roanoke-freedmen's-colony.com, the Roanoke Island Freedmen's Colony, rpp.english.ucsb.edu/category/specific-us-racial-groups/African-American, s2smagazine.com, sacobserver.com, Sacramento, CA, sas.upenn.edu/african_studies/as.html, African Studies University of Pennsylvania, scriptorium.lib.duke.edu/collections/African-American-women.html seattletimes.nwsource.com/mlk/index.html, Martin Luther King. sfbayview.com, San Francisco. sgnonline.com, Georgia. si.edu/art_and_design/African_American. si.edu/resource/faq/nmer/af-invent.htm, inventors. si.edu/resource/faq/nmer/afrom.htm, history. si.umich.edu/chico/Harlem, black culture. skatelog.com/history/African-American-archives.htm, African-American roller skating archives. sociculture.african.american. socrates.berkeley.edu/Africa m, African-American studies. softaandprecious.com, African-American hair and skin products. sos.state.mi.us/history/mag/portfolio/20-5.html, 25 African Americans you need to know. southalabama.edu/universitylib/guides/aframlit. speakinoutnews.com. standardnewspapers.com, Chicago. stanford.edu/department/AAAS. stanford.edu/group/King, Martin Luther King, Jr. directory. stanford.edu/group/King/about_King/encyclopedia. store.yahoo.com/value-by/afmher.html, African American gifts. suffolk.edu/solib/speccall/spec-col-litsub.htm, literature. sunsight.berkeley.edu/bibliographies/African American, African Dissertations Index page. sutv.com/_skline/African.htm, genealogy. takepride.com. tamarindbooks.co.uk, children's books. tbwt.com, The Black World Today. teacher.scholastic.com/Rosa, Rosa Parks. temple.edu/AAS. theatlantainquirer.com. theheavemagazine.com, Brooklyn, New York. thebirminghamtimes.com. thechallengernews.com, Buffalo. thecrisismagazine.com. thenewblackmagazine.com. theodora.com/flags/ne/African_American_flags.html. thescanner.com, Seattle. thewestsidegazette.com, Florida. tsc.net/users/LHL, blacks and Jews. time.com/time/reports/black history. time.com/time/heroes/parks01.ht. tml, Frederick Douglass. tnj.com, Black Professional. tntech.edu/history/bhmonth.html, Black History Month resources. topics.net/AFA-M, news. toptags.com/AAMA, Afro-American Almanac. toptags.com/AAMA/events/brownvs.htm, Afro-American Almanac, African American History Resource. triplenickel.com, the 555th Parachute Infantry. tubmanmuseum.com, Museum in McCoyne, GA. ubp.com. uga.edu/ias/history.html, African American Studies. umi.com. umich.edu/eng499/concepts/power.html. umn.edu/humanrts/index.html, Human Rights Library. una.edu/mjohnson/AFA-M.htm, African American Studies. united-states-flag.com/af.html, African American Flag. us.penguin.group.com/static/html/africanamerican/index.html, usafricanvoice.com, usc.edu/isd/archives/ethnic-studies/african-american/black_lit_main.html, ushistory.com/raylar.htm, usinfo.state.gov/USA/Black His, Gateway to African American History, utexas.edu/cola/centers/CAAAS, valley.vcdh.virginia.edu, Valley of the Shadow, vcdh.virginia.edu/AFA-M/race and place, Jim Crow racial segregation laws, 6bride.com, African American and Caribbean brides, wakaandroll.com/afronews, Canada, watson.org/Lisa/black history/index.html, web, web.dubois.fas.harvard.edu/dubois/dubois.html, wisconsinhistory.org/library archives/ANP/freedom/index.asp, Freedom's Journal, the first African American owned and operated newspaper, wsu.edu/d/dinres.htm, Internet resources on the African diaspora, wsupress.wayne.edu/africana/afr labor/walterspaad.htm, yale.edu/AFA-M studies, yale.edu/glc, Gilder Lehrman Center for the Study of Slavery, Resistance, and Abolition, yale.edu/glc, the Gilder Lehrman Center for the Study of Slavery, Resistance, and Abolition, yale.edu/lawweb/avalon/treatise/african_americans.htm, biography, autobiography, and history, zazle.com, African American T-shirt and apparel, Afro-American newspaper, 2519 North Charles Street, Baltimore, 410-554-8200, fax, 410-554-8213, afrom.org, Black Weekly Newspaper, Atlanta Tribune, 875 Old Roswell Road, C100, Roswell, GA, 770-587-0501, fax 770-642-6501, tribune@mindspring.com, atlantatribune.com, Bi-monthly African American Magazine, Dallas Examiner, 111 Dragon, 214-651-7066, Dallas, African American Weekly, Dallas Post-Tribune, 2726 South Beckley, Dallas, 214-946-7678, African American Weekly, Dallas Weekly, 3101 Martin Luther King, Jr. Boulevard, Dallas, 214-428-8958, African American Weekly, Detroit Association of Black Organizations, 4450 Oakman Boulevard, Detroit, Michigan 48204, 313-491-0003, Ebony, Johnson Publishing, 820 S Michigan I, Chicago, Illinois 60605, 312-322-9200, Monthly African American Magazine, Ebony Man, Johnson Publishing, 820 S Michigan I, Chicago, Illinois 60605, 312-322-9200, Monthly African American Male Magazine, Indiana Black Expo, Inc., 3145 North Meridian Street, Indianapolis, Indiana 46208, 317-925-2702, fax 317-925-6624, NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund. 315 West 9th St. Number 208. Law California 90025. 213-624-2405. NAACP.com. NAACP. 99 Hudson St. 16th FL. NYC 10013. 212-219-1900. NAACP.com. If you're a minority who feels that you've been discriminated against, they will help you find a lawyer. National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP. 4805 Mount Hope Drive. Baltimore, Maryland 21215-3297. 410-358-8900. 212-358-8900. NAACP.com. Watts Times. 3731 Stalker Street. Los Angeles. 213-290-6000. Weekly. Wave Community Newspaper. 2621 West 54th Street. Los Angeles. 213-290-3000. Weekly. Arab culture websites. Arabg.com. US4arabs.com. Arabicnews.com. suite101.com/welcome.cfm/arab_culture_and_identity. freep.com/jobs/page/arabs/index.htm, questions and answers about Arab Americans. AAAN.org, Arab American Action Network. aaci-us.org/literature.html. aafscny.org, the Arab American Family Support Center. aaiusa.org, the Arab American Institute. AAPAC.org, Arab American Political Action Committee. aauj.edu, Arab American University, Jenin, Palestine. acct.edu/pac/lrc/lit-araba-m.htm, Arab American Literature. acc-houston.com, the Arab American Cultural and Community Center. adc.org, American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee. adcmichigan.org, Arab Discrimination, Michigan. adcnewjersey.us/Arab_Americans/Arab_American.htm, Arab America Anti-Discrimination Committee, New Jersey Chapter. aff.org, Arab Film Festival. APAC.org, Middle East. al-bushra.org, Arab American Roman Catholic Community. alhiwar.com, Center for Arab Culture and Dialogue. alyadid.com. allied-media.com/Arab-American. allied-media.com/Arab-American/Muslim-media.htm. aminaraihani.org, Literature. american.edu/zaharna/Arab-comm.htm. american.edu/cas/Arab, Arab Studies Program. americanarab.com, American Arab Chamber of Commerce. americanarabforum.org. americanarabnurses.org. angryarab.blogspot.com. arab-aai.org. arabacc.org. arabamerican.net. arab-american.net. arabamericanaffairs.net. arab-american-affairs.net. arabamericanbusiness.com. arabamericancommunity.com. arabamericancommunity.com/pages/restaurants.html, Arab restaurants. arabamericanguide.com. arabamericanguide.com, Yellow Pages, Arab World Travel Guide. arabamericanhistory.org. arabamericannews.com. arabamericany.org, Arab American Association of New York. arabbar.org, Arab American Bar Association. arabcentersv.org, Silicon Valley. ArabChamber.org, Arab American Chamber of Commerce. arabcomedy.org, New York Arab American Comedy Festival. ArabicNews.com. ArabInfoseek.com. ArabMedia.com, bi-monthly Arab American magazine. ArabMedia.com/directory.html, the Arab American Directory. ArabNews.com. ArabView.com. ArabVoices.net, radio. ArabVoicesSpeak.com. ArabVoicesSpeak.com/links.htm. AramMusic.com, Arab Music. AsianAmerican.net. AsianAmerican.net/Medist.html. AWSA.net, Arab Women. Beijing.usembassy.gov/Arab_American_lit.html. BeirutTimes.com. BintJabil.com. CafeArabica.com, the Arab American Online Community Center. CafeArabica.com/organizations. CAPWise.com/Arab/Home, the Arab American Institute. kyle.umd.umich.edu/COS, Center for Arab American Studies. cddc.vt.edu/feminism/aram.html, Arab American Feminism. crl.edu/focus/Arab_American_press.asp. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/American-Arab_Anti_Discrimination_Committee. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/Arab_American. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/Arabs_of_North_America. English.aljazeera.net, Arab News. Experts. Dead website, trydotdash.com, thoughtco.com, verywell.com, and thebalance.com/q/Arab-culture-2719. Farsinet.com, Iranian. Ghazali.net. glaad.org/poc/muslim/index.php, gay-muslim. halafoundation.org, Arab American leaders. hanania.com. hanania.com/arabdir.htm. home.aol.com/gnhboss/aalinks.htm. infoplease.com/dictionary/Arab-American. islamfortoday.com. lib.wayne.edu/schiffman/urbanhealth/Arab. mcps.k12.md.us/departments/oipd/diversity/arabamattvs.html. mediarights.org/issues/Arab_American. memritv.org. middleeastnews.com. middleeastnews.com/aaorganization.html, National Association of Arab Americans. mizanay.org. moorishgirl.com/archives, Arab American Theater, Plays. msu.edu/course/iah/211c/snapshot.afs/asoan/content/Arabs-military/Arab-Americans-oldyears.htm. nama.com, National Arab American Medical Association. nationalmuseumindia.org/Arab-American Museum. northbayprogressive.org/islam.html, Islam Institute for the Secularization of Islamic Society. osu.edu/features/Arab American, describes Arab Americans so people can understand them better. pbs.org/itvs/caught in the crossfire/Arab_Americans.html. theaacc.org, Arab American Community Coalition. theaanm.org, Arab American National Museum. umass.edu/rso/Arab, UMass Arab Student Club. umd.umich.edu/kal/cos, Center for Arab American Studies. umich.edu/tilde-inet/worldreach/assets/pdf/units/welland.pdf, article about how to interact with Arab American students. usembassy.dk/American Studies/literature/Arab American.htm. usfca.edu/library/handouts/arabamerican.pdf utexas.edu/utpress/books/buera.html, busada, Arab American Faces and Voices. weekly.ahram.org.eg. xrdarabia.org. crossroads.virginia.edu/yp/arab.html, Cafe Arabica, an Arab American online community center. yahooligans.yahoo.com/around_the_world/countries/united_states/Arab_traditions/Arab_American. yale.edu/arab/resources/political links.htm, Arab Students Association of Yale College. wyola.com, National Directory of Arab American Events. Muslim websites. Books about Islam are at number 297 at the library. islamonline.net. answering-islam.org. wings.buffalo.edu/sa/muslim/umma/umma.html. montrealmuslims.ca. 2muslims.com, Muslims Internet Directory and Search Engine. alhayat.com. answeringislam.org, Critique of Islam. arab.net. arabic2000.com. bibleprobe.com/islamapostates.htm, ex-Muslims tell why they left Islam. brigistv.com, Muslim TV channel. cahr.ca, Canadian Arabs. ccmw.com, Women. darylfikr.com.lb, Islamic books. darkwing.uoregon.edu/kbata-rfi/islam. english.planetarabia.com. etext.lib.virginia.edu, major religious books. fatwaonline.com. fatwa-online.com/about-islam. irfi.org, Islamic International, Inc. islam.org. islamamerica.org. islamfortoday.com. islamfortoday.com. islamicaweb.com. islamicfoundation.com, Islamic Education Foundation. islamicfinder.com. islamicity.com. islamicity.com/forum. islamicity.org. islamianfo.com. islamonline.net. latif.com. madinatululum.com, Muslim School. media.be/en/index089, Islam. msa-nat.org/resources/relief_orgs.html, list of Muslim relief organizations. musalman.com. muslimanswers.org. muslim-canada.org. noi.org, Nation of Islam. quake.think.com/pub/etext/Quran. realislam.ca. religiostolerance.org. rim.org/muslim/islam. sistani.org. stg.brown.edu/web/Quran_browser/pqez.html, Quran browser. taliban.com, Muslim extremists. umma.net/Taliban, Muslim extremists. unn.ac.uk/societies/Islamic. uoknor.edu/cybermuslim. uoknor.edu/cybermuslim/sci_maidan.html. wam.umd.edu/Ibrahim. wsu.edu/dee/glossary/imam. Council of Masajid of United States, CMUS. 99 Woodview Drive, Old Bridge, New Jersey 08857. 908-679-8617. Federation of Islamic Astans. In the United States and Canada. 25,351 5 Mile and Aubrey RD. Redford Township, Michigan 48239. 313-534-3295. Islamic Center of New York. 1711 3rd Avenue. NYC 10029. 212-722-5234. Islam Circle. 166 to 2689th Ave. Jamaica, New York 11432. 718-658-1199. Fax, 718-658-1255. Islam Resource Center. Islam Education Resource Center. Dean Mohammed School. 735 Fayetteville Road. Atlanta, Georgia 30316. 404-378-4219. Fax, 404-378-4600. Resources for Islam Education plus a list of Islam schools on request. Islamic Mission of America. 143 State St. Brooklyn, New York 11201. 718-875-6607. Islam Publications International. POB 247. Teaneck, New Jersey 07666. 800-568-9814. Fax, 800-466-8111. 201-599-9708. Fax, 201-599-1169. Islam Seminary, Shia. 55 West 42nd St. Number 1211. NYC 10036. Islam Society of North America. POB 38. Plainfield, Indiana 46168. 317-839-8157. Muslim Journal. 910 W. Van Buren. Number 100. Chicago, Illinois 60637. 312-243-7600. Nation of Islam. 14880 Wyoming. Detroit, Michigan 48238. Prospero's Seminary, Sufi. Box 5506. El Monte, California 91734. Sufi Order of the West. Box 574. Lebanon Springs, New York 12114. Sufism is the mystical aspect of Islam. They have a commune retreat called Abode of the Message. East European culture websites. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/hilanda_research_library. ato.co.uk/eastern-europe-holiday.asp. artmargins.com, Central and Eastern European Visual Culture. cdrc.org, the Center for Democracy and Reconciliation in Southeast Europe. charlottesvveb.com, Tales of East European Travel, Culture, and Food. coe.int, Council of Europe. d.umn.edu/cla/faculty/tiruf/anth3635, Anthropology of Europe. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/central_and_eastern_Europe. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/culture_of_Europe. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/east-central_Europe. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/eastern_Europe. fas.harvard.edu/AAASS, American Association for the Advancement of Slavic Studies. historicaltextarchive.com. indiana.edu//reiweb, Indiana University Bloomington, Russian and East European Institute. lvivcenter.org, Center for Urban History of East Central Europe. shief.ac.uk/ESCS/research/CCS, Southeast Europe. scs.ac.uk/ilc.htm, Department of East European Languages and Culture. ucis.pit.edu/resweb, Russia and East Europe. Asian culture websites. Refer to the Asian Americans Information Directory, asia-directory.com, coombs.anu.edu.au/www-asianstudies.html, Asian Studies, user.hk.linkage.net/tilde arts asia, arts of Asia, asia1.com.sg, Asian news publications, asianweek.com, Asian Week, iexaminer.org, asiasource.org, khabar.com, Asian, East Indian, afchicago.org, Asians and Friends Chicago, asianam.org, imdiversity.com/villages/Asian, oi.uchicago.edu/research/library/acquisitions.html, Oriental Institute, aaa-fund.org, Asian American Action Fund, aaa-fund.org/history/dolly_p_sandi.asp, Asian American Activism in History, AARI.info, Asian American Asian Research Institute, aaartsalliance.org, AAAstudies.org, Association for Asian American Studies, aadp.org, the Asian American Donor Program, aaed.org, Asian American Economic Development Enterprises, aafnewyork.org, Asian American Federation of New York, aaichicago.org, Asian American Institute, aaldef.org, Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund, aalead.org, Mentoring and Other Services for Asian American Students, aamovement.net, aamovement.net, Asian American Politics, Art, History, and Culture, aapiaonline.org, Asian American Psychological Association, aapress.com, Asian American Press, aorising.com/aa-link, Asian websites, aarw.org, Asian American Resource Workshop, aasc.ukla.edu, Asian American Studies Center, aasb.cornell.edu, the Asian American Studies Program, aasb.uiuc.edu, Asian American Studies, aatreview.com, the Asian American Theater Review, aawa.org, Asian American Women Artists Alliance, aawaart.com, Asian American Women Artists Association, aa.org, Asian American Writers Workshop, advancingequality.org, the Asian American Justice Center, alexandersstreet.com/products/adr.hdm, Asian American Drama, alexanderstreet2.com/adrlive, Asian American Drama, allaboutasians.com, allaboutasians.com/asian-film-industry.html, amagazine.com, american.edu/sis/center_for_asian_studies/index.html, American History, Dead website, try.dot-com, thoughtco.com, verywell.com, and thebalance.com/od/ASEAN History, americanzool.com, americanzinglay.com, angelfire.com/stars3/aaniu, Asian American Association, apex.org, artbusiness.com/aawa.html, Asian American Women Artists, artspiral.org, Asian American Arts Center Home, asa.ucdavis.edu/support.html, Asian American Studies at the University of California, Davis, asamst.ucsb.edu, UCSB Asian American Studies, asiafoundation.org, asianam.org, asianam.org, Asian American Politics, asianamerican.net, 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 asianamerican.net/centers.html, asianamerican.northwestern.edu, Asian American Studies Program, asianamerican.yukon.edu, Asian American Studies Institute, asianamericanbooks.com, asianamericancc.com, the Asian American Cultural Center. AsianAmericanFilm.com. AsianAmericanFilm.com. AsianAmericanMedia.org, Film and Media. AsianAmericanTheater.org. AsianaAmericanX.com. AsianCinevision.org, the Asian American International Film Festival. AsianConnections.com, Lifestyle, Dating. ASIA-net.com. AsianMediaWatch.net. ASIAN-nation.org. ASIAN-nation.org/best-colleges.html, best colleges for Asian Americans. ASIAN-nation.org/index.html. AsianReporter.com. Asians.editboard.com. AsiansInc.com. AsianWeek.com. AsianWomanMagazine.com. AsiaSociety.org. AtlantaChinZNews.com. AudreyMagazine.com. AZCentral.com/culturesaz. AZCentral.com/culturesaz/AsianaM/AsianIndex.html. AZNForum.com, Asian and Asian American Culture. BluegrassDaVinci.com/odp/society/ethnicity/Asian. CASF.org, Chinese, Affirmative Action. CACF.org, Coalition for Asian American Children and Families, NYC. CAFMag.com, Chinese. CareerCross.com, Japanese language. cdc.gov/omh/population/ASIANAM/ASIANAM.htm. ctel.org/timeline.html, history. Chanela.com, Asian Americans. ChicagoChinZNews.com. ChineseCulture.com.cn. ChineseWorld.com. CHSA.org, Chinese Historical Society. CIBDC.com.cn, China. clnet.ukla.edu/asian.links.html, Asian websites. columbia.edu/cu/aaa. csrpc.uchicago.edu/resources_departments.shtml, Asian American Studies. csulb.edu/departments/as, Asian Studies. csulb.edu/departments/urd/papubs/experts/Asian-American-Studies.html. dailynews.yahoo.com/fc/us/Asian_Americans. democrats.org/communities/Asian_Americans_and_Pacific_Islanders. digitalhistory.uh.edu/Asian_voices/Asian_voices.cfm. edweb.sdsu.edu/people/cmatheson/truth/Asian. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/Asian_American. epa.gov/AAPI, Asian American and Pacific Islander Initiative. faaim.org, the Foundation for Asian American Independent Media, Movies. fashiongates.com/models/directory/ethnicity/Asian-American-models.html. filipinasmag.com. giantrobot.com, Asian pop culture. goldza.com. goldza.com, Asian American supersite. goldza.com/features/comments/happy.html, Confessions of a Happy Asian American. goldza.com/life/evolution_I.html, The Evolution of an Asian American. hokubei.com, Japanese Californian. html. humanities.uci.edu/aas, Asian American Studies, UC Irvine. hypersphere.com/isa, scholars. -magazine.com. iaas.umb.edu, Institute for Asian American Studies. iascom/odp/society/ethnicity/Asian, Asian Ethnicity Society. imdiversity.com/villages/Asian/village_Asian_American.asp imdiversity.com/villages/Asian/village_Asian_American.asp indiaabroad.com indiakurd.com indiana.edu/AAA, Asian American Association indiana.edu/reading/IEO/bib/asianam.html, Asian American Writers indiawest.com infoplease.com/spot/asianhistory1.html infoplease.com/spot/immigration1.html jademagazine.com janet.org/tilde/ebihara/wada_ru_aa cyber.html, Asian American Online Resources japansociety.org jasminemagazine.com, Canada jhu.edu/journals/journal_of_Asian_American_studies jpncom.com, Canada kcclaw.pdc.net, Korean, Los Angeles khabar.com, Indian Pakistani in Atlanta, GA koreanjournal.com, Korean American lib.berkeley.edu/mrc/asianamvid.html, Asian, Pacific, and South Asian American Video lib.berkeley.edu/mrc/in search of Asian.html, in search of Asian American cinema lib.ku.edu/eastasia/lade.shtml, East Asian Library, University of Kansas libraries.mit.edu/guides/subjects/ethnic/assamsites.html library.stanford.edu/ssrg/adams/short-cu/a library.ucsb.edu/subjects/asianamere/asian-m.html library.yale.edu/rsc/asian-american littleindia.com lss.wisc.edu/aasb, Asian American Studies Program at the University of Wisconsin-Madison mosu.org, Midwest Asian American Students Union malt.cmich.edu/eslcorr_src.htm, GED, High School Diploma, and ESL, Learn English, Asian American Resources mgpublishing.com, Asian American Children's Books modelminority.com 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 monolid.com mtholyoke.edu/courses/kckane/assam_studies/descript.html muse.jhu.edu/journals/journal_of_Asian_American_studies enotco.org, the National Asian American Theater Company, New York napost.com, Japan newsindiatimes.com nrs.com, Russian American nwaf.org, Northwest Asian American Film Festival, Seattle nwaat.com, Northwest Asian American Theater, Seattle, Washington nwasianweekly.com okanatl.org, Chinese ocsworld.com oicf.org, Ocius Young Chinese panopy.com persimmon-mag.com, Asian Culture phoenixteahouse.com pinoisepop.com, Pinoisepop Asian American Music Festival politicalcircus.com Pirais.com, Asian American Church of Houston, TX princeton.edu/AASS/index.php, Asian American Students Association qc.cuny.edu/Asian_American_Center rcf.usc.edu/CMMR/Asian.html salty.org, South Asian American Leaders of Tomorrow sam.html, Asian American Studies scdaily.com Scholastic.com/activities/Asian-American, Asian American Heritage. ssills.rutgers.edu/k-vanders/childrenlit/asian.html. sfsu.edu/aas, Asian American Studies. singtaoeu.com. society.gorti.com/ethnicity/Asian/Asian-American. southasianmedia.net. stanford.edu/department/aas, Asian American Studies. stanford.edu/group/aacf, Asian American Christian Fellowship. studentservices.edu.edu/mss/asian.htm, Old Dominion University. teachervision.fen.com/asia/united-states, Asian American History. theeasternnews.com, Asian, Canada. tmiweb.com. uidaho.edu/ls/aacc, Asian American Comparative Collection. uiowa.edu/tilde-coms/resources/gender-media/asian.html, gender, race, and ethnicity in media. uncg.edu/lis/faculty/baron/multicultural/page 10.htm, Asian American Literature for Young Adults. usc.edu/department/las/passe/html/ausis, Asian American Studies. usc.edu/department/las/passe/html/asnmdesk.htm, Asian American Studies. usbaac.com. usbaacc.com, USPAN, Asian American Chamber of Commerce. Sparks. Dead website, trydot-.com, thoughtco.com, verywell.com, and thebalance.com/od/Asian Americans. utexas.edu/cola/centers/aas, Center for Asian American Studies. vietnamdaily.com. vietnamlangvan.com, Canada. web.mit.edu/21h.153j/www/chrono.html, Chronology of Asian American History. wsulibs.wsu.edu/holland/ref/asianam.html, Asian American Studies. yale.edu/aacc, Asian American Cultural Center. Asian American Association. 9550 Flair Drive, 4th FL, El Monte, California 91731. 800-777-2582. Japanese American Society of Southern California. 505 South Flower St. La, California 90071. 213-6627-6217. Jewish culture websites. Books about Judaism are at number 296 at the library. afhu.org. ash.com, Judaism, the Jewish website. ash.com/holidays, Jewish holidays. ash.com/literacy/Jewish history. ajc.org, Jewish committee. ajr.org.uk, the Association of Jewish Refugees. ajws.org, American Jewish World Service. alljudaica.com. allthingsjewish.com. americanjewisharchives.org. American ZP Hardy Federation.org. aronson.com, books. artscroll.com. askyenta.com. atlantajewishtimes.com. avodainu.com, info@avodainu.com, 800 Avatenu, Jewish genealogy. avodainu.com/ajbp.html, Jewish book publishers. beingjewish.com. bethezekiel.org/museum/exhibit.htm. bnaibirth.org/ijm. Canadian Hadassah wizo.org. ccarne.org, American Rabbis. Chabad.org. Chabad.org/The Jewish Woman. ChaiLifeline.org, 800-343-2527, Jewish Medical Support Group, Summer Camp for Kids. chernyak.on.ca/kolol. chinajewish.org, Shanghai Jewish Community. chosenpeople.com. cjh.org, Center for Jewish History. cjnews.com, Canada. cjp.org, Combined Jewish Philanthropies. claylorg, Jewish Wisdom. clevelandjewishnews.com. columbia.edu/cu/jsu. commentarymagazine.com. Congregations. cross-currents.com. cuny.edu/yivo, Jewish Research. docostery.com. docostery.com, Your Life Story in a Book, documenting Jewish life stories. dovetailinstitute.org, Jewish Christian. easysurf.cc/jew.hdm. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/Jewish_summer_camps_in_Maine. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/open_source_Judaism. faqs.org/faqs/reading-lists/periodicals. feduja.org. floridajewishnews.com. fsumonitor.com. hatchai.com, books. hadassah.com, Jewish. hadassah.org. hadassah.org. hebrewcollege.edu. hebrewsongs.com. hebrewts.org. hebmagazine.com. heritagefl.com, Heritage Florida Jewish News. hillel.org, students. huc.edu, reform. hum.hug.ac.il/dinur, the Jewish History Resource Center is a project of the Diner Center for Research in Jewish History, and it includes over 6,000 links to websites in over 30 categories. hum.hug.ac.il/dinur, the Jewish History Resource Center. israel.niciernet.org/Israel. jajz-ed.org. jccnv.org, Jewish Community Center of Northern Virginia. jcron.co.uk, newspaper. jdc.org, the American Jewish Joint Distribution Committee, aids Jews in distress overseas. jewfaq.org. 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 jewishagenocide.org. jewishappleseed.org. jewishaudio.org. jewishaz.com. jewishaz.com/Jewish News. jewishblogging.com. jewishbooks.org. jewishculture.org. jewishduchess.org, Dutchess County. jewishencyclopedia.com. jewishexponent.com. jewishfamily.com. jewishfilm.com. jewishgen.com, genealogy. jewishgen.org, Jewish genealogy. jewishgen.org/ajgs, Jewish genealogy. jewishhartford.org, the Jewish Community of Greater Hartford, CT. jewishinc.com. jewishinsandiego.org. jewishinstitute.org.pl, Poland. jewishjournal.com. jewishlaw.org. jewishledger.com. jewishlife.org. jewishmag.com. jewishmediaresources.org. jewishmusic.com. jewishnet.net. jewishomaha.org. jewishpost.com. jewishpub.org, books. jewishquarterly.org. jewishquarterly.org. jewishsef.com. jewishsightseeing.com. jewishsoftware.com. jewishsource.com. jewishtelegraph.com. jewishtelegraph.com, England, Scotland. jewishtimes.com. jewishtimes.com. jewish-traditions.info. jewishtribalreview.org. jewishva.org, Virginia. jewishvideo.com. jewishvirtuallibrary.org. jewish-winnipeg.com, jewishworldreview.com, jews-for-allah.org, jewsforjudaism.org, jewsonfirst.org, jewwatch.com, anti-Jewish, jewwatch.com, keeping a close watch on Jewish communities, organizations, jeyrep.org, Jewish Radical Education Project, jgsnewyork.org, Jewish Genealogical Society, Inc., jhsgw.org, Jewish History, Washington, D.C., jhvc.org, jlicentral.com, the Jewish Learning Institute dinur.org/resources/resource keyword manual.aspx, Jewish History Resource Center, jnewswire.com, jnf.org, Jewish National Fund, jofa.org, joi.org, joi.org, the Jewish Outreach Institute, jonathandavidonline.com, books, jpfo.org, Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership, jpr.org.uk, policy research, jr.co.il/hotsites/j-hdala.htm, Jewish holidays, jtsa.edu, conservative, jtsa.edu/library, Jewish library, judaism.miningco.com, jwmag.org, Jewish woman, carbon.com, books, kasharusmagazine.com, kosher food, kashrut.com, kosher information source, kayama.org, Jewish divorce, kipoti.com, kosherblog.net, kosherquest.org, koshersex.com, laborzionist.org, learn.jtsa.edu, lilithmag.com, lubavitch.chabad.org, mail-jewish.org, masua.org, maven.co.il, micahbooks.com, momentmag.com, momentmag.com, momentmag.org, motherlodejc.org, Jewish community in California, myjewishlearning.com, namati.org, Jewish women, nic.funti.fi/pub/doc/bible/hebrew, newjerseyjewishnews.com, newjerseyjewishnews.com, New Jersey Jewish News, ort.org/ng.htm, Jewish youth, orthohelp.com, Orthodox, ou.org, ou.org, Orthodox Jews, ou.org, Orthodox, ou.org/Jewish_action, Passoverzeit.org, pitcron.com, Pittsburgh newspaper, rabbis.org, Orthodox, radicaltorah.org, Jewish radical, randomhouse.com/Skoken, reformjudaismmag.org, religionstolerance.org, rhpa.org, Baptist Jews, rice.edu/campuslife/org/hillel, rj.org, Reformed Zionists, rootistoots.com, Jewish genealogy, rrc.edu, Reconstructionist, sallyfingaret.com, Jewish music, sandiego.ujcfedweb.org, searchgive.com/charities/American_Jewish_joint_distribution_committee, sephardicjournal.org, sephardicstudies.org, sfjcf.org/jholidays, Jewish holidays, shalomlaw.net, Los Angeles, shalomscrapper.com, Jewish scrapbooking paper, shamash.org, shamash.org/kosher, kosher restaurants, Jewish, shamash.org/links/organizations, shamash.org/trb/judaism.html, shamash.org/trb/judaism.html, sites.hug.ac.il/jnull/index.html, Jewish studies. somethingjewish.co.uk. somethingjewish.co.uk. sukkot.com. sunpublications.com, Kansas City Jewish Chronicle. sunsite.unc.edu/Yiddish. targum.com, Horizons, Jewish Family Journal. tbzbrookline.org/reality/adult.php, Jewish culture. teenisrael.org. theajc.nl.ca, Canada. thejc.com, Jewish Chronicle. thejewishjournal.com. thejewishweek.com. thejewishweek.com. thejewishwoman.org. tikkun.org. tikkun.org. tjc.8k.com, choral group singing Jewish music in Raleigh, NC. topjewishfoundation.org. torah.org. torahaura.com, Jewish books. torahtots.com. 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 totallyjewish.com. tracingthetribe.blogspot.com, the Jewish genealogy blog. tzivos-hashem.org. uahc.org, American Hebrew. uahc.org, the Union of American Hebrew. uahc.org/rjmag. ujc.org, United Jewish Communities, 877-277-2477. ujcweb.org. urj.org. urj.org, Customs and Traditions of Reform Jews. urj.org, Reform Judaism. urj.org, Union for Reform Judaism. uscj.org/metnewyork/middletown/jewish.htm. uscj.org/metnewyork/middletown/jewish.htm. usham.org, Holocaust Museum. wayrt.org. wayrt.org, Jewish Women. wayrt.org, Women. wiesenthal.com, Simon Wiesenthal Center. wijewishconference.org, the Wisconsin Jewish Conference. wnet.org/tenement-museum. worldmonuments.org. yadvashem.org. yad-vashem.org.il. yehud.com, synagogue schedules. yiddishbookcenter.org. zigzagworld.com/hunt5757.htm. zoots.com/cj/judaic. American Jewish World Service. 15 West 26th St. 9th FL. NYC 10010. 212-683-1161. Association of Jewish Libraries. 1327 Winter Creek Lane, Dunwoody, Georgia 30338. bearmanhouse.com. 800-221-2755. Cooper Shop. Jewish Museum. 1109 5th Avenue. NYC 10128. 212-423-3211. Ergo Media. New Jersey. 800-695-3746. jewishvideo.com. Gallery Robin. Jewish Life. Tennessee. 800-635-8279. judaica-online.com. Glimpse of Judaica. California. 800-546-1776. Hamaker Judaica. 6112 North Lincoln Avenue. Chicago, Illinois 60659. 800-426-2567. jewishsource.com. Source for everything Jewish. Jewish Bookstore. 2028 Murray Avenue. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania 15217. 800 Judaism. Jewish Book Society. 800-234-3151. Jewish Lights Books. 800-962-54 4544. JewishLights.com. Jewish Currents Magazine. 22 East 17th St. Number 601. NYC 10003. Jewish Homemaker Magazine. 391 Troy Avenue, Brooklyn, New York 11213. Jewish Monthly. 1640 Rhode Island Avenue, NW, Washington, D.C. 20036. Jewish Museum Shop. 1109 Fifth Avenue, NYC 10028. 212-860-1866. JewishMusic.com. 800-827-4000. Jewish Publication Society. 1930 Chestnut St. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania 19103. 800-234-3151. Judaica Occasions. 800-336-2291. MonziNewYork.com/JudahCai. Carben Books. 6800 Tildenwood Lane, Rockville, Maryland 20852. 800-4 Carben. 800-452-7236. Carben.com. Museum of Tolerance Gifts. 800-553-5383. Reconstructionism Today. 30 Old Whitfield Road, Accord, New York 12404. Source for everything Jewish. Niles, I.L. 800-426-2567. United Synagogue Review. 155 Fifth Avenue, NYC 10010.